Thanks for taking time to talk, Representative Gamba. Could you just, for folks that didn't see my article back in January, can you just give us the outline of what this bill, House Bill 2963, this rebate bill would do?
Sure. And thanks for asking. I think it's an important bill to try and get lower income folks an opportunity to have, good, reliable, relatively fast transportation that is almost, low to no cost once you have the bike. So different than last time, it's limited to there's a income limitation, and we wanted to make it as simple as possible because if we had to have some agency confirming people's income, we knew that would eat up half of the money. So we tied it to the Oregon Health Plan. So if you qualify for the Oregon Health Plan, you automatically qualify for a rebate. So that's, kind of your working poor to really poor folks.
Right. So it'll go almost completely through DHS, Department of Human Services, then.
There's some, there was at one point two different agencies, but I think we did roll it back around to where it's just DHS.
Yeah, there was some talk about it being in DEQ, environmental quality, but I think you were even saying back at the public hearing in March that you were hopeful that DHS was making some noises that sounded like they'd be able to almost take it all over. So suffice
Yep.
it to say, administratively, you've worked to make it as slim as possible. Do you remember anything from that public hearing in March? I'm curious, like what your colleagues are saying about it. If anybody on the transportation committee is, I don't see any real opposition yet. Like, what is the sense down there in the building about it?
It's not talked about a great deal. It's not in the current framework. I've talked to McLean about it, and she's like, "Well, we can add it to the package if you want." I don't know that that necessarily helps it get funded.
Mm,
I will probably do that because I do think it will, if it's in the package, they're not going to line item veto stuff out. So
mm.
I'm thinking that's the way I'm gonna I'm gonna encourage her to add it to the package. And I think, it's a mixed bag. You got the folks that don't think we should be spending a penny on bike and pedestrian and transit, and then you got the folks like Senator Khan and I that feel like that needs to be a high focus.
And you're looking for like 5 million, right? For along with it, is that the number?
It was either 5 or 6 million, yeah, somewhere right around there.
So something like 4 or 5 thousand bikes potentially at it's $1,200 rebate. Is that kind of how it's working out?
Yeah, it's a $1,200 rebate if you buy a bike that's, $1,200 or more. If you and there's not a lot of e-bikes you can pick up for less than that, but
Right. Okay, so it's had its public hearing, and then it's at the point of, is there a point in the session where you would have to decide you've really got to ramp up some support to try to get a work session, or can you help me understand, like, what's the process of getting it into the transportation package, the larger one, and the framework?
yeah, well, that's working with leadership and McLean and Gorsuch to get it in the package if that's the way we want to go. Um, Otherwise, yeah, it's some pressure to get a work session, which I don't think it would be that hard to get a work session, and we probably would pass it. Um, the problem is it's likely to die in Ways and Means if
Right.
it's not part of the package. That's my guess because, you know, as much as we can talk about bicycles being a form of transportation, a lot of legislators, particularly older legislators, see it as a toy, not as a form of transportation.
Yeah, you mentioned that in the public hearing, how there was some feeling last time that people didn't feel good about a subsidy that would essentially, like, to quote you, say would subsidize someone's purchase of a toy. And it irks me so much because we've just got myriad subsidies for other vehicles already in place. There's no such talk about that. There's none of this. Let's limit it to people that are getting assistance from DHS or all these things that you're having to do to even have a conversation about it. That's really frustrating. Is that an argument you think that has any weight down there of saying, well, why are you treating this one differently than the EV, or there's even a motorcycle, electric motorcycle one, right? So,
Yeah, well, like I said, I bet we could pass it out of committee. It'll just die in Ways and Means. It's just what's in people's heads, and I've experienced it from the get-go, clear back when I was trying to get bike and ped infrastructure in Milwaukee. Older folks
Yeah.
don't see bicycles as transportation.
Yeah. Which, there's just an article in the New York Times this week about I think a 90 year old, 80-year old riding an e-bike, and I know, we all folks like you and I know that for this kind of vehicle, especially older folks are really catching on to e-bikes. So that's just
Yep.
even more frustrating. All the talk about rural transit. I mean, you could get people on electric trikes could be zipping all over their rural towns. Okay, Representative Gamba, thank you. Is there anything else that you want to share about this bill? Sounds like we're in the moment of maybe there'll be a call out to try to get it into the package, or once it's in the package, then people can rally around that aspect of it. Is there anything else you want to say about what folks might want to do to advocate for this?
I think if people just rally in general to say this is important, this is a really good low income transportation policy and program, and however you all choose to fund it, you need to fund it. I think that message could go out today and it could go hard, and I would focus on the folks on the transportation committee, the folks in Ways and Means, and leadership.
Great. Thanks, Representative. Have a good weekend. Thanks for taking time to talk.
Of course, anytime.